the dunes! Did you know that sand dunes are actually alive and can even move on their own? Brianna Dignard here, and I am here at Jockey's Ridge State Park to talk all about sand dunes, what they are, how they form, and how we can help protect them. Sand dunes form when the wind picks up sand and carries it to some place and drops it in a pile. And as time goes on, more and more sand gets added to that pile, and eventually a sand dune forms. The shape of the sand dune can even change depending on the direction the wind is coming from, or even where the sand is being dropped off. And eventually, sand dunes can actually collapse. And this happens when too much sand is put on top of it to where it can no longer support itself. And when it collapses, it moves to a new location. Thus, sand dunes can actually move on their own. The dune grass is an important part of the dune ecosystem because of its roots. So you'll often see like dune grasses or other plants like sea oats, and the sand can actually accumulate around the roots. And this serves two purposes. So you can have dune formation because it collects all of the sand around the roots, forms sand around the piles of dune grass. It makes little dunes or even big dunes. But you can also have dune stabilization. So if wind blew around and tried to blow sand off, or if water came up and tried to wash the dunes away, the roots still hang onto that sand and keep it all nice and tight inside of the dune itself. In addition to just being pretty cool piles of sand coming along here, dunes are also a very important part of the coastline ecology. So they perform a lot of jobs for us. They act as a natural flood protection, or against flooding along the coastline, or against storm surges, and they can even act as a replenishment source for sand on the beach. So if sand gets washed away by the waves on the beach or eroded, the dunes are a huge storage container of sand that can come along and replenish a lot of the sand on the beach. Some of the threats that occur to dunes would be human activity, so walking on dunes where you're not supposed to walk on dunes, sitting in some dune grass, destroying the dune system. The wind itself, while wind does form the dunes, it can also destroy them, and the ocean or water washes away sand and can destroy the dunes as well. Because dunes have so many important ecosystem services and functions for us, it's really important to continue to protect them as much as they protect us. So one of the best things you can do is, if there's any signs that say, stay off the dunes, get off of the dunes. Because human activity is one of the biggest threats to dunes, is by walking all over them, you shift the sand and it moves and it destroys the dunes. So if you see a sign that says get off the dunes, don't walk on those dunes. In addition, you may see fencing in place, and that fence can actually serve two purposes. So for one, it prevents people from walking all over the dunes, because you're not going to walk someplace that has fencing, hopefully. Another reason that fencing is really helpful is because it can act similar to vegetation. So the sand can form and kind of form around the base of the fence posts and help stabilize the dunes, or even collect more sand to make the dunes bigger. And then finally, there's a lot of efforts out there to replant dune vegetation. Planting vegetation on dunes is a good way to save the dunes. So you see here, this is a wonderful example. This dune, these two little dune peaks are covered in vegetation. And because of all of those roots holding on to that sand, these peaks are a lot higher than all the other sand around it because it protected it from the wind erosion. There's a lot of efforts to build up the dune grass and have dunes be built up as well to help protect our coastlines. It's time to save the dunes. Dun, 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 dun. I appreciate your company with me to the dunes today and learning just a little bit more about this super exciting beach-adjacent ecosystem that I don't know how many people actually explore or think about whenever they go to the beach and they have to cross over sand dunes. I mentioned at the very beginning of this video that sand dunes are alive and can actually move. And now we know that's due to dune collapse and dune reformation. But how much do sand dunes actually move? Sand dunes can move anywhere from 6 feet to 65 feet in 1 year alone. That is a crazy amount of movement for literally an inanimate object being carried by the wind. Thank you again for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this trip to the dunes and to the beach Catch me next week where we'll be exploring some fun science content in the state of Wyoming. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it with all your friends, follow me on Instagram, and keep it sciencey! Dune grass is an important part of ecosystem. I'm Dignard. I'm out of breath! I saved this full of shoe.